Welcome to Spells and Spoilers, the podcast where we dive into all things supernatural. This season, we're starting with Charmed, so grab your spellbook and your popcorn, and let's get magical. Welcome to Spells and Spoilers, a rewatch and reread podcast. I'm Aleacia.
And I'm Elizabeth. This season, we will go over minute by minute through every episode of Charmed, giving you all the details and diving into the magic, the drama, and everything in between.
That's right. Each week, we're going to break down one episode of Charmed, and today we're starting with Season 1, Episode 2, I've Got You Under My Skin.
Before we get started, just a quick reminder to follow us on social media, subscribe to the podcast, and leave a review if you're enjoying our deep dive.
The episode starts at Piper's new job at the restaurant Quake, and Phoebe joins a very stressed out Piper, who says that Chef Moore quit to open his own place and left her with the mess. She does also mention that his accent was fake, so called that.
Yes.
Piper says, "Hello, I'm not a restaurateur. I'm a chef. I have no idea what I'm doing." The girls are joined by a blonde woman named Brittany, who shows off her hand tattoo. It's like a little angel stencil thing.
Yes, it is.
And Phoebe says, "I thought it was illegal to get them on your hand because of the veins." And Brittany tells her it is in the States, but she got it done in Tahiti. But I did look it up, and feel free to correct me, anyone. But I looked it up, and I could not find any evidence that hand tattoos were illegal.
I have never heard that. I have a hand tattoo,
Yeah.
and I got that back in I don't know, it's been over 7 years. And I know this is the late 90s, but I've never heard that you can't get a hand tattoo because of the veins on your hand. Yeah. So that was really, maybe it's certain areas.
Maybe
regions.
I don't know. I googled it and nothing came up. Even the Charmed Reddit was we've never heard of this. So I
did find that interesting. Where did they pull that out of?
Yeah, I don't know. Just making stuff up. Mm-hmm. Brittany leaves, and Phoebe looks over at a man sitting at the bar, and she has a premonition of him approaching her. She tells Piper, "He's about to come over here and ask if he can buy me a martini. Let's just say I solved the age-old question of who approaches who first." Piper says, "Phoebe, you're not supposed to use your powers. We agreed." And Phoebe tells her, "No, you and Prue agreed. I abstained. Besides, it's not like I can control it. It just popped into my head." And I do think that, of the three sisters, I imagine that Phoebe's would be the hardest to control.
Yeah, because you can clearly see, if she, touches something or, the type of energy left behind would, I would think, trigger some type of premonition for her. I agree with that. I think that would be the harder power to control out of freezing time or moving things.
Yeah, I don't know. So I think that may be a little unfair,
Yeah. They're like that on her though.
Yeah.
They really are.
Yeah. I mentioned that a lot.
Yeah.
Piper says, "That's the whole point. None of us can control our powers. That's what scares me. I could panic and freeze the entire restaurant." Foreshadowing. The man Phoebe was eyeing approaches them and does in fact ask if he can buy Phoebe a martini, and they decide to get a table. Before she leaves, Piper tells her that Prue is going to be angry, and Phoebe says, "Newsflash, stop worrying, you'll get wrinkles."
I love her little quips throughout this episode.
Yes. We cut to Brittany getting in her car in a dark parking lot. She checks her lipstick in the rearview mirror and screams when she sees a man sitting in the car behind her.
So what I found interesting was I'm fairly certain that she unlocked her door.
Yeah.
I thought I heard a beeping. Mm-hmm. So how'd he get in her car?
I don't know. There's a scene later where Phoebe gets out of a van and then she gets back in the van immediately after. I'm like, how did he get in there so fast?
So I thought the same thing, but I think when we get to that, I think his hand came through the window and towards her is what I seen when I rewatched the episode. Yeah, but maybe I'm wrong. But I did think that too.
Okay. Then we see Prue sneaking out of Andy's bedroom. Mm-hmm. Clearly something steamy has just happened.
Yes.
When the alarm starts going off, she uses her power to throw it out the window.
That is relatable for anyone that uses an alarm.
So dramatic. I also just want to say, I don't know if this happened to you. I watched on Peacock, but the subtitles, it said Alex groans instead of Andy.
Okay. My subtitles, I watch it on Amazon Prime, and they are off. So they're delayed.
Great.
Yes. but I did not catch that.
Yeah, we'll have to see if it says it on Prime. It does say it on Peacock. It says Alex groans. I'm like, who's Alex? But Andy wakes up and he calls out for her, but she has already gone. And then we cut to credits. So what do you think about like the way that they've set this episode up?
So I think so far, the way that they have introduced the chaos of the restaurant and just immediately went into the episode to get anything started really was a little slow for me. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it was still kind of natural. Yeah. Kind of flowy.
I almost kind of think that they should have left this scene between Prue and Andy until after the credits, because it feels like we just went from this really high moment for the lady getting abducted in the car to like a random sneaking out of a bedroom scene, and then we go to credits. Yeah. It felt like anticlimactic.
Yeah. It was almost like they're trying to get all three of the girls like immediately within the episode.
Yeah, definitely. Back at the manor, Piper is in the kitchen watching a documentary about the Salem witch trials. Me too, Piper. Prue comes in and asks if she's afraid of being burned at the stake. Piper denies it and tells her that Andy called while she was in the shower, and she asks if their date was bad. Prue says, no, it was great. Dinner, movie, sex. Piper teases her, on the first date, you sleaze. Prue rolls her eyes and says it wasn't exactly our first date. Piper tells her that high school doesn't count because that was a decade ago, which I think is fair. It does not count.
No, I agree.
And Piper asks Prue if it was that bad. Prue says, no, really, it was great, but I told myself that things would be different this time, that we would take it slow. It just shouldn't have happened, that's all. Phoebe comes down the stairs and joins them. And when Prue gets sassy at Piper for telling her that she slept with Andy, she's offended and says, you were going to tell her and not me? Family meeting.
I loved how she was like, family meeting for that. Like, her sex life is considered a family meeting.
Yeah, up for discussion.
It's because Prue is the most uptight out of everyone. So it's like, whoa, wait a minute. This is big news.
So Prue kind of like turns it around on Phoebe and she asks what time she rolled in last night. And Piper says it must have been after 3. Phoebe says, I must still be on New York time. Prue tells her that I would actually make it later. Prue asks who Alec is, and Piper tells her that he's some hottie she hit on in the restaurant last night.
And he was pretty cute. I thought anyway.
I thought he had a weird haircut, but I feel like his face was cute.
That was total 90s, though. Yeah, so you can't, judge that much.
Phoebe says, excuse me, revisionist history. He hit on me. Remember the whole vision thing? And Prue says, please tell me you didn't use your powers, which is highly ironic considering she just used her powers.
Yes, like major hypocrite right here.
Yes.
Like, that's not okay.
Yeah, like you just did it. Okay. And we do that again later, too. Like,
a couple times throughout the series.
Yeah.
Yeah, or episode.
I'm like, why are you doing that? She says that she thought that they agreed that they weren't going to use their powers. And Phoebe tells her, no, you agreed. You laid down the law. There's a difference. And Prue sighs and says, Phoebe, our powers are not toys. We have to be careful. They could get us killed. And Piper says, that's right. We don't want any more warlocks finding us. And I'm like a little cracked up at like this dynamic because like as we go throughout the show, there's so many other bad guys. Yeah. But like all they know right now is about warlocks.
Yes.
So like we don't want warlocks to find us. Like, have you not read the Book of Shadows and seen that there's like 80 billion demons?
Different type of creatures out there. Yes. Yeah. And in disguise.
Phoebe is clearly getting frustrated, and she says, look, it was just a lousy premonition, and FYI, you guys can't control your powers any better than I can. Also, nothing happened last night. At least, nothing I'm ashamed of.
I love how she's like, I had a great time. Whatever. No problems here.
Prue tells them that's another reason we have to be careful. Andy thinks someone is out there abducting women, which means it's not just warlocks we have to watch out for. And FYI, I'm not ashamed of anything. We cut to the police station, and Max, Brittany's boyfriend, is reporting her missing. When he leaves, Andy says that that's the 4th one this week. But at least they've narrowed down his feeding pool to the area around the restaurant. Of course they did, because that's where Piper works.
Yeah.
Daryl makes a joke that Andy better tell his sweetie to lock the door tonight because his hair is all messed up from the morning. Mm-hmm. And in the next scene, Piper is sitting in her car outside of a church when the pastor spooks her by knocking on the side of the car.
Which he kind of, like, I don't know, I got weird vibes from him. Even from that one little interaction, like, I got weird vibes from him. Yeah. I don't know why.
I agree. And there's a scene later that we'll talk about, but I'm like, why are you being so weird about it? Like, yeah. Like, he has, like, weird cadence. Like, his pauses are weird.
Yeah, and, like, the facial expressions as well, which we can discuss later on, but I got weird vibes by him.
Yeah. But the pastor says, aren't you a little early to be dropping off the unused food from the restaurant? And Piper tells him that she's going to come back later, and he asks what she's doing there now. She says, just thinking about Mary Esty. It's from a stupid documentary I saw. She asks the pastor if it's true that evil beings can't enter a church without being smited, basically. Mm-hmm. And when he asks if she's talking about vampires, she says, no, I was thinking more along the lines of witches. The pastor says, let me put it to you this way. I sure wouldn't want to risk it, which is like so ominous.
Yeah.
The way he says it
like
is
weird
so sketchy.
Mm-hmm.
But he goes inside and Piper gets out of her car and approaches the door. When she reaches a shaky hand out to open it, thunder crashes. But I think it's possible that the thunder part is like only in her mind because it happened exactly like that in the documentary.
It did, yeah.
And so I think
that's
maybe
a good perspective of that.
She was like, because it didn't look like it was storming.
Yeah, because she's clearly like got a lot of tension with that, or the fact that she's a witch is really bothering her.
Right.
And so that could have been conjured up in her own mind at that time. That's a good point.
But the bell tolls and she runs away and she does not enter the church. We cut to Prue running into an elevator at Buckland's auction house. She drops her stuff on the floor and the man inside helps her pick it up. He says, 18th century French art? Do you work at the auction house upstairs? Prue says she's just interviewing if she ever gets there on time. Her phone rings and it's Andy. Andy says, I think we should talk. And Prue tells him she's really late for an interview and it's not a good time. But Andy says, I didn't mean for what happened last night to happen. You have to know that. She responds, I'm totally wrong for it anyway. Stuffy old auction house. I don't know why they even called. Because she's like trying to tell it it's not a good time.
Yeah. Well, she even mentions like, how'd you get my phone number?
Yeah.
Like, where'd that come from? And he's like, I'm a detective. That kind of thing. But
Andy keeps going and says, we've known each other for a long time. We just couldn't help ourselves. It's nothing to be ashamed of. All we did was make love.
Which, I don't know.
Cringe.
Yes. Like.
Don't call it that.
Don't. I agree. I don't know why. Like, I don't know.
It was weird for him to say it, too. Like, the way they said it was weird.
Yes. Like, he does. He's like, all we did was make love. Like. He said it very passionately.
Yes.
And it was awkward.
But I sort of feel like Andy is being a little bit obtuse here. She said she was late for an interview. It's clearly not a good time to be like having this conversation. And he like is continuing to push it. And I don't love that.
Yeah.
He asks why she snuck out like that. And Prue says, I did not sneak out, right? You were asleep and I didn't want to wake you. And I did write you a note. I just didn't leave it.
Which I thought that was pretty great. Like, no, I'm not gonna. No.
The line disconnects because she's in the elevator, and Prue realizes that everyone had been listening to their conversation.
Yes, like how awkward, because all the men are staring at her.
Yes.
There's no other females in there that I noticed. Mm-hmm. They're staring at her, and they're like, as soon as she turns and looks at them, like, how awkward.
Yeah, very uncomfortable.
I'd be slightly mortified, I think.
Yeah. Like, thanks, Andy. Actually, I'm never talking to you again because you put me in that situation.
Yes.
When the elevator begins to stop at the 7th floor, Prue uses her magic to shut the door and keep it going until it gets to level 12, because that's her floor. And again, Prue, being a hypocrite here.
Yes, because she used her powers.
Yeah, she jumped on Phoebe for not using her powers, and this is the second time we've seen her use hers.
And her being the oldest and, trying to be responsible, like, this is very irresponsible for her.
Yeah.
Considering she just got on to Phoebe for using her powers. So it's like, it's okay for her to use her powers, but Phoebe can't use hers.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like a do as I say, not as I do kind of vibe, and I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
At Quake, Phoebe hands a customer their check, and, like, does Phoebe work at Quake? What is happening?
I think she may have been, like, filling in.
Volunteering.
Yeah, I think Piper was like, you need a job, you're doing this. Because I need the help. You're doing this for me.
I mean, like, when you work for a company, though, like, that company assumes liability of you. They're, like, you know, there's paperwork. You can't just volunteer. I guess it's true. Piper doesn't know what she's doing.
And she mentioned that a couple of times.
Yes. She recognizes the customer that she hands the bill to as a photographer named Stefan. He flirts with her, which obviously pisses off the woman that he's having lunch with. Mm-hmm. He, like, says she's
rightfully so, though.
Yeah. He says she's not his girlfriend. I'm going to call her his girlfriend this whole time.
Or his date.
Yes.
I don't know.
We never get a name for her.
No.
But she, like, immediately leaves to go to the car because she
felt insulted.
Yeah, and I would, too.
And Phoebe even was like, well, thanks for calling me that, but in front of your girlfriend or date, however she worded it. And he's like, she's not. And it's like, oh, slap in the face.
Yeah. But he tells Phoebe that he's in town doing a Porsche shoot for a few days and would love to photograph her. She walks off holding a napkin with an address on it and runs into Piper, who begs her to do a delivery. Again, like, does she work here? Mm-hmm. Phoebe agrees and then asks if the guy is staring at her. Piper says a lot of guys are staring at her. And I think that's, like, kind of the first glimpse we see of the sexualization of Phoebe.
Yeah.
So we need to keep an eye on that because she's not like, oh, lots of guys are staring because we're being crazy. Like, it's guys are staring at you.
Yeah.
And she's dressed normally.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she's very pretty.
Yes.
So, but at the same time, it's like, it doesn't matter what she's wearing.
Right. So I think we'll keep an eye on that. Phoebe says, the one at the bar, tall, dark, brooding, very New York. Piper tells her no, and the camera pans to the bar and Stefan is gone, probably to deal with his girlfriend in the car. Yeah. We cut back to Prue, and the manager is telling her that the guy that she'll be interviewing with is impressed with her resume, but he's already said no to 6 other applicants. If I'm going into an interview, please do not tell me that.
Yeah.
Like, why stress me out for no reason?
But at the same time, I don't feel like she's too stressed because she didn't actually apply for it.
Yeah.
They reached out to her. Mm-hmm. But it also made me question, like, how'd they got her information, too. Because I don't recall that it mentioned.
Mm-mm. But Prue says, I still don't know why he's interested. I never even applied, which is so sus.
Yeah.
The manager tells her that he likes the work that she did at the museum, even though her ex-boss, Roger, trashed her, and she asks what Roger has against her. Prue says, hard to say, unless shattering his male ego counts for something. He's also my ex-fiancé. The woman laughs and opens the door, introducing her to Rex Buckland, the man from the elevator.
I find him very cute.
I do think he's cute, yes.
Yeah.
Did you think that the guy she was interviewing with was going to be the man from the elevator?
So I did, because I read a lot of books that are about women either starting a job and then falling in love with their boss. And immediately when I seen him, I was like, either he is interviewing for the same position or he's the boss.
Yeah.
And I feel like there might be something going on right there.
He says, actually, we've already met. Welcome to my stuffy old auction house.
And the look on her face was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Because she did not expect him to be the interviewer.
Yeah, well, he's kind of young, so I could understand why she wouldn't expect him to be the interviewer, but yeah, she's like, oops, awkward.
But we also find out that he just took over the business too.
Yes.
So
we cut from Prue to the Porsche shoot, and we see a woman tied to a table. It's Stefan's girlfriend. She screams, please, I beg you, don't hurt me, please, Stefan.
And I'm sorry, but if I am tied up, unwillingly tied up, I would be struggling.
Yeah.
Like, she is not yanking on her wrist restraints, her ankle restraints. She isn't, like, she's not even saying anything really, other than please don't. Yeah. Like,
well, even the phrase, like, please, I beg you, is so scripted.
It is. Like, there was no emotion in it.
No.
There was nothing there.
Like, she's not crying. She's not even hardly yelling.
No. Like, she had no emotion.
No, it was not good.
No.
But from the shadows walks what I can only describe as a creepy old man demon. Okay. In a black robe.
Again, the graphics. Like, I can't with the graphics.
He says, "It's Javna." His eyes glow red as the woman continues begging, and she's still really not selling it.
She's not.
But beams of light shoot from Javna's eyes into hers, and seconds later she morphs into an old woman at the same time that Javna transforms back into Stefan. He picks up an intricate hand mirror, like his family heirloom from his great-grandpa demon. I don't know.
Yeah, his great-grandpa demon. That's good.
It's like so like filigree all over it.
It's very ancient.
Yes.
Yes.
But he examines his reflection with an evil laugh. I did not love this scene.
No.
She did not seem to be scared or even invested, at all. The CGI was terrible.
Like, she gave up.
Yeah. And his, little grin and evil laugh into the mirror.
I know, it was like...
Yeah, it was so cheesy. I'm not scared of this man.
No.
The man needs a friend. He needs a moisturizer and a friend.
Oh.
Back at Buckland's, Prue is in the midst of her interview, and Rex says, "It's a shame you think you're, how did you put it, totally wrong for the job?" Prue stands and tells him, "That was a private phone conversation. You called me, remember, not the other way around. And while we're at it, I think it's incredibly unfair of you to eavesdrop on a private call and then misjudge me based on what you think you heard."
I love how she was extremely direct and very confident in this part of the episode. Like, she did not take his criticism at all. And I kind of, I don't agree that it was a very private conversation, at all. She could have completely ended that call.
Yeah.
If she wanted to.
Yeah, I agree. I also think it's a little silly to say based on what you think you heard. That's a direct quote. I'm totally wrong for this job.
Yeah.
So, okay. But I do like her confidence. Clearly Prue is a woman that takes no shit in the workplace.
Yeah. Honestly. And that's one of my favorite things about her is she doesn't take it.
Yeah, she just handles her business.
She dishes it.
Yes. Rex apologizes and says that he's new, having just taken over the job from his dad. And he says, "I liked what you did at the museum, attracting a younger market. It's entirely consistent with what I want to do here. It's just that all these qualifications aside, it's very important to me that whoever I hire truly wants to be here." And I feel that. I hire people for my companies. And, I don't want people who just want a paycheck.
Yeah, you want someone that's going to be passionate and that is excited to show up.
Yeah.
So I agree with his statement there, too.
Absolutely. Prue thanks him for his time, and they shake hands. But before she leaves, she turns back to him and tells him, "My area of expertise ranges from Ming Dynasty to a Mark McGwire rookie baseball card. You name it, I can identify it. Now, I may not have sought this job originally, but I do want it, and I am definitely right for it." Prue drops her mic and leaves the room.
She does. She puts her foot down. It's she looks at him, throws her hair over her shoulder, and walks right out that door because she knows that she is the it.
Yes, I am definitely obsessed with Prue's boss moments.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't always love them when they're directed at the sisters, but when they're directed at men and anyone else, I love them. Yeah. I'm obsessed with them.
Boss babe, 100%.
Yes. Prue and Phoebe are back at the church making their delivery and discussing Prue's love life.
Yes.
Phoebe says she thought that Prue would be mellower, but she's worse. She asks, "How long has it been? 6 months?"
That's I love it.
Piper says, "It's just so un-Prue-like to have sex on the first date. Everything's changing since we became, Phoebe laughs and says, "Come on, you've never had sex on the first date?" Piper says, "No, have you?" Don't answer that.
I mean, many people do it.
Yeah.
No judgment. I have a high school sweetheart, so mine was never like that.
Yeah, I can't relate.
And that's okay. No judgment.
Phoebe says, "It's not like it's a regular thing. Plus, now that I'm a witch, I can see if it's going to be any good or not."
It's supposed to be different.
Yeah. As she's saying this, she's handing a tray to one of the church volunteers.
Yeah.
And Piper asks her if she's out of her mind talking about this when other people are around. And she says, I just think we need to be extra careful in bed and out. They really so far have not done a great job of keeping it a secret. Like, they just be saying stuff.
I know. Like, Phoebe is embracing it.
Yes.
Like, she is very much embracing it. But at the same time, I do agree that maybe they need to be a little more cautious out in public, because you don't know who could be one of the bad guys.
Yeah.
So, like, that volunteer could have been a bad guy, and they don't know. He could come back in, 10 episodes from now, and we don't know.
Yeah, well, even that, too. Like, you're fixing to get a grippy sock vacation if you don't watch your mouth. Jeez. Phoebe tells her there's careful and then there's paranoid, and she asks if Piper wants to talk about it. But the pastor comes up and greets Phoebe, and once she leaves, the pastor begins talking with Piper. And Piper tells him, I've got this friend. She's got a little problem. Could be bad. She kind of thinks she might be a witch. The pastor asks her how well she remembers her Sunday school lessons. And I do have trouble believing that Grams took these girls to Sunday school.
Why do you say that?
Because, like, you haven't really seen the show. But, like, Grams was very into, like, the spiritual aspects. Even if she wasn't outright being like, I'm a witch. She was very, like...
She was connected spiritually.
Yes. And I just have a hard time believing that she was like, let's go sit down and learn about Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, I feel like there's people out there that believe in witchcraft and stuff like that and still go to church.
Yeah. I mean,
so that could have been, the concept of it.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of believe in both things because I believe in God, but I also sage my house. So I do understand that. We'll just keep an eye on it. We'll, like, see if that's something that we think Grams would have done. Because from what I remember about the show, I have a hard time believing that. But,
okay. That's fair.
But he quotes Exodus 22:18, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. He says, if you go by the old school, it means put her to death. She's evil.
And this just gives me more, like, negative vibes about him. Like, I feel like there's something about him, or maybe I'm just looking into it. But I feel like, why would he have went straight into, if she's a witch, that means you're evil, therefore you should die.
Yeah.
Like I get negative vibes from him.
Yeah. Well, even like the way he says it, it's like, it means put her to death. Are you gonna do it? Like, why are you so
which
creepy about it?
Gives her more, like, it makes her more cautious about being a witch now.
Yeah. And I don't know if maybe, like, they gave instruction to the actor, because the actor is a pretty handsome guy.
He is.
And I don't know if maybe they, like, gave instructions to him to, like, you're not a love interest. Be serious. Be, like, somebody that, like, was very clearly not a thing with Piper.
Yeah.
And he just took it too far?
Yeah. And maybe that's what the vibes are that I'm getting, is that he's just way too serious about it.
I don't know. It's very strange. But,
like, if somebody came up to me and was, like, concerned about witches, like, I'm not sure that I would take it fully seriously. Like, I would try to take their feelings into consideration, that they're truly believing in this. But I'm not sure that I'm going to be like how he was, very serious.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was very strange.
It was.
Piper looks down sadly, and we cut to Phoebe at a newsstand. She sees an old couple picking lottery numbers, and the man mentions that if they don't win, they could lose their house, which is very sad. But also, please do not put all your eggs in the lottery basket.
Yes.
Please
do not do that.
Phoebe touches the ticket from the stand, and she sees the winning lottery numbers. She tells the couple, and they excitedly write them down, and she says she's going to buy one too. She gets back into the delivery van smiling, and we pan over to an old woman. When the woman scratches her face, we see that she has the same tattoo as Brittany from the beginning of the episode. So we can, kind of surmise that.
So when I first seen that, I did get the vibe of like witch vibe. Mm-hmm. But then it clicked to me that was Brittany.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that makes more sense now.
Yeah. We cut to Andy and Daryl on a stakeout, and Andy says the whole situation doesn't feel right. He wonders what the guy is doing to the poor women. Daryl jokes that they were abducted by aliens. Okay, Daryl. And he asks if his favorite movie growing up was Ghostbusters and says, look, we got a crazy Trudeau. He likes the pretty ladies. If he comes back looking for more, we're going to grab him, tag him, and make the world a safer place. Is that too hard to follow? Andy nods and tells him that his favorite movie growing up was Evil Dead 2.
Have you ever seen that movie? Mm-hmm. The graphics.
I don't like the
It is extremely gory.
Yeah.
That was one of my little brother's favorite movies. He absolutely loved the Evil Dead series. And I don't mind blood and gore, but again, the graphics were horrible. Even the newer Evil Dead ones are not.
We tried to watch Evil Dead Rise or something like that on a date night. And it had been so long since I had seen an Evil Dead movie or even part of it. And I was like, it kind of made me sick. I was like, I do not want to watch this. This is I'm eating dinner. Oh. This is so gory. I'm just not a big gore person. I do like spooky stuff. I like thrillers. I really like paranormal movies where kids get possessed. I like stuff like that.
Just not the gore part.
But I'm not
See, that stuff doesn't really bother me. As long as you're making it look real and legit, the better it is. If it flat out looks fake, then I lose interest. I'm like, eh. And that's how I feel about the Evil Dead. So I thought that was funny that he was like, Evil Dead, that's mine. Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay.
But he sees Prue walk into Quake, and after a short exchange with Daryl about blowing their cover, rushes in to talk to her. Prue tells a frazzled Piper that she thinks she blew her interview. Piper does not care. She is so busy right now.
She's so stressed out. So stressed out.
But she spots Phoebe talking to Stefan and asks Piper what she's doing there. Piper says that she's flirting. She's not working. Just sitting there doing nothing. But Prue notes that Phoebe is wearing an Armani dress because Prue can identify anything.
Right. That is her expertise.
Yes.
In artifacts anyway, so why not fashion?
Prue walks over to Phoebe, shakes hands with Stefan, and tells Phoebe that it's a nice dress. Phoebe says, don't worry, it's not yours. And Prue scoffs and is like, I know, because I could never afford it.
I thought that was so great. I was like, oh, that's funny.
When Phoebe excuses herself to go argue with Prue about the dress, we pan down to Stefan's hand, and we see that he's starting to turn into Javna. It's wrinkly with horrible nails and liver spots. It's disgusting.
Yeah, not cute.
No. How did you not see that, Phoebe? Embarrassing. Phoebe tells Prue that she charged the dress because she won't be broke for long, and Prue accuses her of using her powers again.
Which is ironic.
Literally. Phoebe says, are you telling me you haven't? And Prue says, in my opinion, the worst line, no, I'm not telling you that, but we're not talking about me, are we?
Which I don't understand that line. Again, it's okay for me to use my powers, but not you.
Yeah, what a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Yeah, not cool, Prue.
I feel like they should have had Phoebe be a little more sassy on that and call her out.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, again, so you can use your powers, but it's not okay that I can use mine. So yeah. I feel like I wish they would have done something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wish anybody would call Prue out, actually, about this.
Yeah.
But Phoebe reveals that she played the lottery and asks what she wanted her to do. Ignore the premonition, not help a needy family. And Prue tells her that the Book of Shadows says that they're not supposed to use their powers for personal gain.
Which is what she's kind of been doing the whole time as well, though.
Yeah.
She threw the alarm out the window so she wouldn't get caught.
Yes. And I think that, the personal gain rules in the show are kind of weird because it's if it's little enough, it doesn't matter. But
the more, what they're not realizing is, and they've mentioned it, the more they use their powers, the more danger is coming, no matter how big or small, and it's not clicking yet, I don't think.
Yeah. The girls keep arguing, and Prue tells Phoebe to get a job like everyone else.
Which, we're undecided if she actually has a job or not.
True. She may work it quick. Piper begs them to stop and be quiet because they're in the kitchen of this super busy restaurant.
That is a no-no place.
Yeah.
You don't go in there during rush hour.
Do both of you work here and get out of the kitchen?
Yeah.
But Andy walks into the kitchen too And he knocks over a stack of plates. That's why you don't go in the kitchen.
Yep.
And Piper yells, "Watch it," and accidentally freezes the kitchen.
Yeah, and she's so stressed out because of work, plus her internal turmoil of being a witch and not being able to cope with it. Yeah. She clearly is not coping with it. And so all her stress just comes out, and she winds up freezing it.
Mm-hmm. Piper is freaking out like a ton about freezing the kitchen. And Prue notes that the rest of the restaurant isn't frozen, just the kitchen. So as of right now, Piper's power only works in one room. And she sees Daryl coming to the kitchen. Phoebe is fanning Piper, trying to get
calm her down.
Calm down, yeah. Yeah. And Prue runs out to try to stall Daryl, but it does not work. Just as Daryl opens the door to the kitchen, the room unfreezes. Yeah. So we're still not really clear on like how the unfreezing works right now. Is it time-based? Is it like someone else coming in?
And I think that's even asked eventually by Prue, I think. And during this scene, and she's like, I don't know how to unfreeze it. It doesn't last very long. It just happens.
Yeah. So maybe we'll get some clarification on that, like as she learns more about her powers. But side note on that, as Daryl is walking to the kitchen, he like puts his hand in his pants pocket, which moves his coat, and it reveals his badge.
Yes.
And Stefan sees that and like
he hightails it. Yep.
Which we never see Phoebe going back to the table and realizing that Stefan is gone.
We do not, do we? I did not catch that.
So I'm like, just no reaction. You just leave.
I think maybe because she's so worried about what's happening in the kitchen with Piper. Maybe that is why they didn't show it. And then maybe her thought was, oh, he left because I took too long.
Right. That's fair. Andy looks at Daryl and asks what he's doing here. He said, I thought I had 5 minutes. Daryl says he gave him 10. What time is it? How long were they frozen? Because it did not seem like very long. How long does it take to walk from the car to the kitchen? That also doesn't seem like it would take very long.
And it was clear that there was a lot of foot traffic too.
Yeah. So I'm like, how has it been 10 minutes? But okay.
I mean, she froze time, so maybe it speeds it up.
Maybe. Piper says, they're really busy. Please get out of the kitchen. Prue tells Annie she'll call him, so the inspectors leave. And Piper says, I hate being a witch.
Again, more tension, and her feels are coming out about her situation.
Yes. Back at the manor, Piper is reading the Book of Shadows in the attic when Phoebe walks in. And I love this scene, so I have a lot to say about it. But Piper says that she's thinking about how screwed they are now that they're witches. She tells Phoebe, you don't get it. You don't think we are. You're never afraid of anything, and I envy that about you. I always have. Phoebe says that it gets her into trouble sometimes. And Piper says, our whole lives, we've been just like everybody else, rushing off to work, going out on bad dates, buying shoes, and then suddenly we wake up one day and everything is different. We're witches now, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Phoebe tells her it's a great thing. Piper says, you don't know that. We don't know anything about these powers, why we have them, what they mean, where they even come from. I mean, how do we know it's not from evil? Phoebe says, we've been over this. We're good witches. Piper asks how she knows. She says, what about Jeremy? What about all the other warlocks he said would be coming after us? How do we know we're not just like them? That's what scares me. We don't know. I just want to be normal again, as messed up as that was. Is that too much to ask for? Phoebe says, Piper, you are the sweetest, most caring person I have ever met. You're always there to help everybody, even strangers. You've been doing it your whole life, so there's no way you've been given this gift if it wasn't to do good things with it, to protect the innocent, just like the Book of Shadows says. Piper is crying, and Phoebe jokes, besides, if anybody should be concerned with being bad, it's me, right? Which makes both of them laugh. Phoebe says she has to go because she's getting her picture taken, and I just want to talk about this scene for forever.
I know, like, the concern in Piper's voice and appearance throughout the entire episode is clear. Like, yes. She is struggling about being a witch. Mm-hmm. And as she had mentioned, she just wants to be normal. And I figured that Prue would have more of a difficult time, like, being a witch but it's clear to me that Piper is the one that is struggling the most. And then how Phoebe comes in and just kind of, I feel like kind of opens her up a little with her careness, the way she's...
I think it's like she listens to her. Like, she does not blow her off. Like, she does say, like, we're good witches, but she really, like, is trying to listen and, like, trying to see where Piper comes from. And she's been telling her all episode, do you want to talk about it? Talk to me.
Yeah.
And, you know, we finally get this moment. And I love that you can feel, like, the fear and the sadness coming off of Piper.
There's
like,
passion in it.
Yeah. Like, up for once.
Yeah.
But I really adore, like, the bonding moment between the two sisters. I think that's really important.
It's very genuine.
Yeah. And I think sometimes Charmed is really at its best when it's building strong relationships between the sisters. Like, I love the action. Sometimes it's hilarious. But, like, the bond between the sisters is really what we're here for.
It's there. Yeah. They're the three interactions.
Yes. And Phoebe is very kind to her, which I love.
She's very understanding. Like, as you had mentioned, she's not blowing her off. And I think if they were to have put Prue in that position, there wouldn't be as much emotion, because Prue is a very, direct person.
Off, yeah.
And I mean, Phoebe's very direct as well, but I feel like it wouldn't have come across as enduring.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, like, Prue can be a little bit impatient. She's like, I've already come to the conclusion. Everybody else needs to catch up to me.
Yes.
You know?
Like, she doesn't, I don't feel like she would have really kept Piper's feelings in this type of situation. I feel like she may have, like, kind of blow it off. Whereas Phoebe is very understanding and, like, encouraging.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that they chose those two, and, you know, it's such a nice moment. And I like that she, like, kind of ended it with a joke to, like, cut the tension.
To lighten it up, yes. Yeah. And then she's like, okay, that's it. Like, that's all we need.
Yeah. We cut to Prue and Andy out to lunch. Andy tells her that he isn't sorry that it happened. Prue says she is sorry that it happened, but not because she didn't enjoy it. And they have, like, this banter about, like...
I had, like, secondhand embarrassment, not because they're, like, trying to be discreet, but it was, like, so cringy.
Yeah.
Like, when she was like, I really liked the way you, and he's like, yeah, me too.
Yeah. And she's like, and of course there was
he's like, yeah, that was fun. And I'm like, no, like, is that a real conversation? Like, do people, if there are any listeners out there, and that type of situation happened to you, you definitely need to comment that, because I need to know that if that really does happen in real life.
Like, Prue says she's uncomfortable that they haven't seen each other in almost 7 years, and they're still picking up right where they left off. Andy says he just wants to know why she left, and asks if she can tell him what the big secret is. And I think Andy is really, you know, he's starting to, like, pick up on things, that she's hiding stuff. And I think he, like, low-key knows.
He's obvious.
Yes.
Like, he's very aware that she's a witch, I think.
Yeah.
I think he knows, but he's giving her the chance to open up to him.
Yeah.
And he wants that. I think that's what he's trying to convince her to do here.
Yeah, he said that cat, so suspicious. Prue tells him he doesn't want to know, but that her life has gotten pretty complicated. She says she just doesn't think she should get involved in anything right now. Andy says, Prue, we had sex. It doesn't mean we have to elope.
Which is something a guy would totally say.
Yes. And they, like, kind of chuckle about that for a minute. And then he says, I'm serious. We'll just count that one as part of our old relationship. We'll slow down and start over. We've been given a second chance here. I don't want to blow it this time.
And I like how he's like, okay, let's pretend that it didn't really happen. Even though, like, if I was in her situation, obviously it was good. So I wouldn't want to pretend. But, like, the fact that he's, like, you know, trying to wipe both their hands clean and start over, I think was good on his part.
Yeah, well, and I think that shows, like, how much he really cares for Prue. He's like, we don't have to be having sex. We can just hang out.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, it's not about sex to him.
Right. Both of their phones go off, the world's largest cellular device on Earth.
I had one of those. I'm not even kidding. It was a Nokia, I think, or Nokia.
Nokia, yeah.
I was like, I had one of those.
Yeah.
That's my age.
That's so funny.
Maybe.
She's like, it was actually retro. I got it for the retro.
That's right. I'm very retro.
Andy makes a joke about dating in the 90s. And Prue answers her phone, which I think was like Andy like muted his and Prue was like, I'm taking it.
But at the same time, his like when he looked at his phone for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I feel like his demeanor changed.
Yeah.
After he looked at the phone. So like it kind of made me wonder if it was more of a message or something.
Yeah, I thought maybe a pager.
That's kind of what I was thinking, but I didn't get a good look at the size of it because pagers I don't think were very big back then. I never had one, so
I know that it was like a different tone.
Yeah,
I noticed that like the ring was not the same, and I do remember I think that it was a little bit smaller. So I thought maybe because he is on duty that it was like a pager.
And pagers would have like a message of some sort. I think again I've never even really seen one, so I don't know, but it kind of made me wonder if he got some type of news. And then, while she was taking her call, he just gave me some type of demeanor change.
Okay. The auction house is calling Prue about a second interview, and she says she has to go and asks him for some time to think things through. She walks off, leaving a sad Andy alone at their table. She doesn't even really say goodbye. She's just like, I'll think about it, bye. Yeah.
She definitely blows him off.
Yes.
Like, she does not want to have this conversation.
Yeah, which is like kind of sad because Andy is really like kind of bearing his soul there, but
he's open, whereas she is closed.
Yeah, and Prue is just not the most sensitive. Piper is in her car. She's hyping herself up to go into the church, repeating that she has nothing to be afraid of, nothing to be afraid of. She walks to the door and actually opens it this time. She hesitates before walking in, and when she makes it, she shouts, "I'm good!" She has this huge smile. I think she looks stunning.
Yes. Like, I loved this scene for her because for her, it was like she was proving to herself that, yes, she's a witch, but everything's going to be okay. And like in this moment, I feel like it's a realization and acceptance of her becoming a witch and believing in herself and what the future may hold.
Yeah, absolutely. She walks back down the steps and she meets the old woman version of Brittany. She recognizes her from the hand tattoo. And Brittany says, "You know me? Is that my name?" Piper looks shocked, and then we cut to Prue Bucklands.
Yeah.
Like, can we just finish a scene, please, Charmed? Prue is introduced to Hannah Webster, an assistant specialist. And, like, immediately you just get, like, Mean Girl vibes from Hannah, in my opinion. But Rex asks Prue to tell her about a painting, and she says, "Madonna of the Meadow, Giovanni Bellini, 16th century, fabulous piece, worth $3 to $4 million easily if it wasn't a copy." Hannah asks in a pretty snooty voice what makes her think it's a copy. Prue says, "Too well preserved, no yellowing. Besides, the frame supports are in pine, and Italian painters used poplar back then." They move to a sculpture, and Prue tells them that it's a Degas and the only sculpture that he exhibited himself. Hannah intentionally bumps into a ladder, knocking down a can of paint above Prue. She holds up her hands, and the paint sort of like curves around her and splatters on the ground, splashing Hannah's shoes.
Which I find this scene interesting because, one, why was she what did she have against Prue immediately? And why would she want to ruin this for her? Like Mean Girl vibes, or is there something else going on?
Yeah, she didn't even really give her a chance.
Yeah.
Which is immediately hateful. Rex apologizes and tells her that she's hired.
Yeah. And again, it's interesting to me because she used her powers in front of people. And this is the first time that she's used her powers in front of people. And so my thought was, they didn't mention any of that. So how was it? Did they not see it? Were they not aware? Like, I don't... Yeah. This part kind of confused me.
Yeah, not to be rude, but if I dumped a pan of paint on your head and you held up your hands and it just like did a swirly thing around you, we would be having a chat.
We would. Yes, 100%. And I would expect nothing else.
Be like, excuse me,
yeah,
ma'am.
and they completely ignore it.
Yeah.
And then offer her the job, which gave me suspicious vibes of the two of them.
Yeah, absolutely. When Prue leaves, Rex asks Hannah what she thinks, and she says, I think she's either the luckiest woman alive or she's a witch.
And it was the tone in her voice when she said, or she's a witch. Mm-hmm. And it like gave, again, it kind of like...
Yeah, it's not like they were going to be best friends because they're all witches together. You know, It was like, I'm evil.
Yeah.
Also, I'm evil.
They gave me bad vibes.
Yes. Back at the manor, Prue comes in and is met with old woman Brittany. Piper tells her that it's Brittany Reynolds, and Prue says, yeah, right, and I'm Rosie O'Donnell. Piper insists, mentioning the tattoo, and says that she asked her questions only Brittany would know. Back with Phoebe, because we cannot let a scene breathe for 10 seconds, she moves to go into the building where the photo shoot is supposedly being held, and as she grabs a hold of the handle, she has a premonition of herself strapped to the table. She runs back to the van and screams as a hand covers her mouth from behind. And he got in there fast.
Yeah, so this is the part that I mentioned earlier, because it looked like he was in the vehicle. Mm-hmm. But then I rewatched the episode, and to me, it looked like his arm came around, like she's in the van, and his came through the window and covered her face.
Okay.
But I could be wrong on that.
Okay.
Well, but I had the same thought. How did he get in the vehicle?
Yeah.
Because there were no side doors. It was the back doors.
Yeah. I don't know.
And she would have heard the door.
Right.
Like, with that type of van, there's no way that she would have not heard doors opening or closing.
Absolutely. Especially because it's like a restaurant van. It's not like it's brand new, like well-oiled machine.
Yeah, definitely.
In the attic, Piper is reading out to Prue out of the Book of Shadows, saying Javna feeds 1 week out of the year, stealing the life force from the young by invoking the black magic power of the evil eye to gain eternal youth. She flips to the reversal, the Hand of Fatima. She tells Prue that the book says the Prophet Muhammad invoked it to banish Javna back to where the hell he came from. Prue is saying that they don't know where or who Javna is, and Brittany finds the napkin with the address and faints.
And that was very dramatic.
Yes.
Like,
she's an old lady, she can't help it.
I know, but
Piper says she's senile. The girls, with help from Brittany, kind of work out that Stefan is Javna and that Phoebe is in danger. At the same time, Daryl and Andy are watching the ATM footage and see Stefan leaving with one of the victims. So
the first victim.
Yes, so they're also after him. Mm-hmm. Phoebe is tied to the table, begging to be let go. And I just feel like, so far, nobody in this show has been able to convincingly beg for their life.
I know, not even Phoebe in this situation.
No.
And maybe she's just trying to be calm.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, struggle.
Yeah.
Like, kick your legs, pull on the wrist restraints.
Well, and that's what we talked about last episode with Piper. Like, get scared.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Maybe these women are very lucky and they have never been in fear for their life. Mm-hmm. You know? They just don't know where to pull from.
They're so in shock.
Yes.
Maybe.
But Javna comes out of the shadows and his eyes start to glow. The girls pull up as Javna starts his laser beam eyes. Prue throws him back, and he turns his attention to Prue, drawing her to him as he connects with her. She floats.
Yes, which, again, I thought that was pretty comical, too.
Yeah. Maybe that's why he ties them down, so they don't float around.
Maybe, I don't know. But what I found interesting was when we seen the first girl tied, and he did the laser beams, it was within seconds that she turned into an old woman. Mm-hmm. But when he did it with Prue, it was a whole lot longer, and she didn't turn. So that made me think, is it because she's a witch and she was fighting it, whereas the other one was just human and it happened within seconds?
Yeah, well, and also, like, she has wherewithal. Like, Phoebe yells at her to grab the mirror, and she does.
Yeah.
She's not, like, in a trance or anything.
Yeah, so she still has control over her body.
Right.
So it also made me wonder, like, why didn't she move? Like, if, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But she reflects Javna's lasers back at him.
Yes, good move.
And as he screams in pain, the girls start reading their spell. Evil eyes look unto thee, may they soon extinguished be. Bend thy will to the power of 3. Eye of earth, evil and accursed.
So far, this is my favorite, like, chant that they have had. Like, it rhymed, it flowed, and it went very well.
Yeah, I do think this spell is better than the last couple we heard, but I don't know if I love the last line. It feels like it needs, like, another rhyme. Like, the last line is kind of hanging.
Okay.
Like, I think this one and then the very first spell the protection spell we heard from the blonde woman are probably in my, like, top 2 favorites. But, like, it just feels like the line evil, eye of earth, evil and accursed, like, it needs something to, like, rhyme it with or something to, like, finish it.
Yeah.
Because it feels
I can
like
see that.
half hanging.
Yeah.
But I do like the rest of it. Prue's hand starts glowing, shooting out a beam of white light, and they keep chanting. And you can kind of see, like, in the shadow, her hand, like, morphing into the
looked like little worms or something,
yeah.
or snakes going around it. I did notice that as well.
Yes. Javna is vaporized, turning first into a skeleton and then into a pile of ash that blows away. What do you think of that compared to Jeremy into, like, chunks?
So I liked this
vanquishing.
Yeah, that's a good word. Vanquishing a whole lot better than the first one. It seemed like it was more, like, realistic, I guess you could say. I mean, again, the graphics, horrible. Late 90s. I'm going to say this probably a lot. But whereas Jeremy, he blew up.
Yeah.
There was no chunkiness. And then he's just gone. Whereas this one, he disintegrates and dissolves, and then he's into ash, and then it blows away, which I also thought was interesting because where'd that wind come from?
Same.
But whatever. It was a whole lot better than the first one, for sure, I thought.
Yeah. I do also, like, kind of want to see as we go through if, like, different beings have different vanquishings.
Okay, that's a good point.
So, like, if warlocks always blow up.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So I'm just, just like, if different spells do different things, it's curious about that.
Yeah.
We see old woman Brittany sleeping on the Halliwell couch, and she turns back into her normal self. So the spell is broken.
She's very concerned about her outfit, if you didn't notice that.
Yes, I did.
She's like, what in the world am I wearing? I mean, she looked comfy, but...
Same, I'd wear that outfit too, Brittany. As the girls leave the warehouse, the police arrive, late as always. They tell Andy Phoebe was having car trouble, and she was supposed to be meeting Stefan to have pictures taken. Andy asks if they have any idea how lucky they are. Daryl tells Andy that there's no sign of Stefan, but he may still be around because his car's still there.
And again, Andy is receiving some more suspicion towards them.
Yes.
Like,
he
wait a minute.
reaches into the van window and just starts the van. He's like, you were not having car trouble.
Proving that there was definitely no car troubles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Phoebe says, I think it's time for us to go. And Andy says, that's a good idea.
Yeah, he's like, he goes with it.
Which, like, yeah, I understand. Like, Andy does a lot for the girls because he is in love with Prue. But also, you can't just, you have to question them because there is missing women and now a missing man who is a murderer.
Yeah, and you've already got suspicion that your girl and her sisters are supernatural beings.
Yes.
So
maybe chat with them and see what they know, not just let them leave. Prue asks him to call her, and then we see the girls back at Quake. Phoebe asks Stefan's girlfriend if she's okay, but she doesn't remember anything. She's like, who is this random lady talking to me? She tells Prue and Piper that she learned her lesson and she'll be more careful. Prue asks if she heard that right, if Phoebe actually admitted to doing something wrong. To which Phoebe tells her to frame it because it's never going to happen again.
Yeah.
Piper says, at least we help those people. I mean, it's nice to know our powers really are good. Prue says that they're good for everything except their love lives.
And I love that how Piper, like, is coming around to being a witch at this point. It's clear that all three of them have come to terms now with being a witch. And I think that now that all three of them have accepted that, I think that they'll truly be able to grow.
Yeah, I think like we had Phoebe kind of already comfortable. And then the last episode was really about like Prue coming around.
Yeah.
And this episode is about Piper coming around.
I think it's like from here on out, it'll show all three of them embracing their true nature and who they truly are as the so-called charmed ones. And again, be able to fulfill their ultimate destiny.
Absolutely. The TV starts announcing the winning lotto numbers. Phoebe pulls out her ticket, but as she's looking at it, the ticket is wiped clean.
Yeah. Which I had a feeling that was going to happen.
Yeah, it can't be that easy.
Like even Prue had mentioned that you can't use your powers for your own gain. So it was like, you know, I like how she was very hopeful with it still. Like I'm gonna win.
I do kind of wish that the ticket would have like remained the way it was. She would have won, and then she would have made the decision not to turn it in. You know?
Or if it like blew out and then, you know.
Like Stefan's skeleton.
Be like, psych.
Prue says, I told you, you can't intentionally use your powers for your own personal gain. Phoebe says it's a good thing she didn't take the tags off the dress and that at least the old couple didn't lose their house.
Yeah.
Piper proposes a toast. She says, to the power of three, whether we like it or not.
Yep. And again, that's where it really shows all three of them have accepted who they are.
Yes.
I mean, they may struggle with it still, but I think in this moment, that's where it shows their acceptance.
Absolutely. So who is your witch of the week?
So my witch of the week is Piper because of her growth throughout this episode. So obviously from the beginning up until towards the very end almost, she was struggling with being a witch. Her fear of what is going to happen to her and her sisters is consuming her. So it's adding to her already stressed life. And it's clear that all she wants is a normal life. She even voices that. But she knows that she'll never have that now. And so her accepting being a witch is just hard for her. And so I love how she pushes herself and proves to herself, not to her sisters, but to herself that she's going to be okay as a witch. And in return, they're all going to be okay as who they are now. And I love how she just accepts it by the end of the episode. So I'm excited to see how she continues to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. I also picked Piper.
Good choice.
I think she had a lot of like emotional turmoil this episode. And I loved her scene with Phoebe in the attic so much. Her giant smile when she realized she could go in the church if she wanted to. I do think we'll continue to see this struggle for her because she still wants to be normal. Yeah. Like she might be adapting, but she has yet to overcome.
Yeah.
You know? But I think, you know, she's starting to come around to something similar to acceptance. And I like that development. I can also relate to being so busy and overwhelmed with work. This poor girl. She's like, I do not have time to do a vanquishing. I am so tired. I'm so busy. Me too, Piper. Same.
So that's it for today's episode of Spells and Spoilers. Thanks for hanging out with us. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode and follow us on Instagram at Spells and Spoilers and TikTok at Spells and Spoilers Pod for more. We'll be back next time with more supernatural fun. See you later.
Bye.